1. The man who walked beside my car during the blizzard. The night it happened, the snow didn't fall gently. It attacked. January 17, 2014, northern Wisconsin. The kind of winter night locals warn you about, but outsiders never truly understand. Wind howling so hard it sounded like screaming. Snow driven sideways, sharp as needles, erasing roads, trees, even the sky itself. I was driving home from a late shift at a distribution warehouse in Iron Ridge. The trip usually took 40 minutes. I had done it 100 times. That night, it felt like I was driving into nothing. The radio cut in and out between emergency alerts. Blizzard warning, whiteout conditions, multiple stranded motorists, do not attempt travel unless absolutely necessary. I should have pulled over, but my phone battery was dying, my fuel gauge hovered just above empty, and home was only 20 miles away, or so I thought. Around 10:48 p.m., my headlights caught movement on the right side of the road. At first, I assumed it was a deer. Then, I realized it was a man. He was walking in the same direction as my car, only a few feet from the shoulder. His head was down, his arms hanging stiffly at his sides. He wore dark clothes that blended unnaturally well with the storm. No coat, no hat, no gloves. I slowed instinctively, rolling past him at barely 15 miles per hour. As my car drew level with him, he turned his head. His face was pale, not from cold, but from something else. His eyes were open far too wide, whites glowing in my headlights. He smiled. Not a friendly smile, a stretched, empty smile that showed too many teeth. My stomach dropped. I accelerated, heart pounding. In my rearview mirror, I saw him stop walking. And then he lifted his arm. He waved. 5 minutes later, I saw him again. This time, he was farther ahead on the road. That was impossible. There were no intersections, no shortcuts, nothing but forest on both sides, buried under feet of snow. I slammed the brakes, my tires skidding. The man stood directly in my lane, waiting. I rolled down my window just an inch, snow blasting inside. "Hey!" I shouted. "You need help?" He didn't respond. Instead, he stepped closer to my car. That's when I noticed his feet, bare, blue, leaving no footprints in the snow. I locked the doors. The man leaned down until his face was inches from my window. I could see frost crawling across his eyelashes. "I've been cold for a long time," he said calmly. Then he straightened up and walked into the storm. Not toward the woods, not back the way he came, but straight ahead, into the white. I drove the rest of the way in silence, hands shaking. When I finally reached my driveway, I sat in the car for nearly 10 minutes, trying to convince myself I had imagined it. That night, I dreamed of footsteps crunching outside my bedroom window. The next morning, I checked the news. A man had been reported missing near Iron Ridge during the storm. He had last been seen walking along County Road D, the same road I drove. The photo showed a smiling man in his early 30s, dark jacket, same eyes, same smile. 3 days later, the storm returned. I was driving again, this time earlier, when my engine sputtered and died. Middle of nowhere, no signal, snow falling hard. I stayed in the car, wrapped in my coat, waiting for help. That's when I heard footsteps, slow, crunching, circling my car. I didn't look, I didn't breathe. Then came the knocking. 3 slow knocks on the driver's window. I remembered something my grandfather told me about winter deaths in the Midwest. He said, sometimes they don't know they're dead. They just keep walking, looking for warmth, looking for company. The knocking moved to the passenger side, then the back door. Always 3 knocks, always slow. I squeezed my eyes shut. Minutes passed, hours maybe. When I finally dared to look, the snow around my car was untouched. No footprints, no tracks. Help arrived at dawn. They found a body that afternoon, frozen, standing upright, less than a mile from where my car had broken down. Officials said hypothermia causes confusion, hallucinations. They said people imagine things in blizzards. I believed them. Until last winter. Until I saw a man walking beside my car again, smiling, waving, keeping pace.
Story 2. The Voices Beneath the Snow, based on real Rocky Mountain winter disappearance cases. People who have never spent a winter night alone in the Rocky Mountains don't understand how loud silence can be. When the snow falls hard enough, it doesn't just cover sound, it replaces it. The wind howls through the trees like a living thing, branches snapping under the weight of ice, the earth itself groaning beneath layers of snow. And beneath all of it, something else, something listening. In February of 2002, I learned that the mountains don't just take people. Sometimes they call them. My brother Ethan was not reckless. That's important to understand. He wasn't one of those thrill seekers chasing danger for adrenaline. He was methodical, careful, former National Guard, a man who triple-checked maps, packed extra food, and always left detailed itineraries behind. That winter, he took a temporary contract as a wildlife surveyor near the San Juan Mountains in Colorado. The job required him to stay in a remote ranger cabin for 3 weeks, documenting animal movement during heavy snowfall. No cell service, no neighbors, just him, the snow, and the radio. The last text he sent me was simple. Storm coming in tonight. Cabin solid. Talk soon. That was February 11th. I never heard his voice again. 2 days later, I received a call from the county sheriff. They said Ethan had missed his scheduled radio check-in. Search and rescue teams were being assembled, but weather conditions were bad, very bad. A massive snowstorm had rolled through the mountains overnight, dumping nearly 4 feet of snow and triggering multiple avalanches. They wouldn't be able to reach the cabin for at least another day. That night, I couldn't sleep. At around 2:30 a.m., my phone rang. Unknown number. When I answered, all I heard was static. Then, Ethan's voice. "Do you hear them?" he whispered. I sat up, heart racing. "Ethan, where are you?" "They're under the snow," he said. "They knock from underneath." The line went dead. When I tried to call back, the number didn't exist. The rescue team reached the cabin the following afternoon. What they found confused everyone. The door was unlocked. Inside, the cabin was warm. The fireplace still held embers. Ethan's gear was neatly arranged, food untouched, bed made. There were no signs of struggle, no blood, no damage. But there were footprints. Bare footprints, leading from the middle of the cabin floor, not from the door, not from the bed, from the center of the room, as if Ethan had been standing there barefoot for a long time before walking out. The prints led to the door, continued into the snow, and stopped, just ended, as if he had sunk straight down. Search teams scoured the area for weeks. Dogs lost the scent almost immediately. Helicopters found nothing. Officially, Ethan was declared missing, presumed dead due to exposure. But there was something they didn't tell the public, something they told me. They found his recorder. Ethan carried a small handheld audio recorder to document wildlife sounds during storms. It was discovered buried beneath a snowbank nearly 50 yards from the cabin. The device still worked. I was asked if I wanted to hear it. I said yes. I wish I hadn't. The recording begins normally. Wind speed measurements, snowfall estimates, Ethan humming quietly to himself. Then, around the 40-minute mark, something changes. The wind grows louder, and beneath it, voices. At first, they sound like distortion, like interference, but slowly, unmistakably, they form words. Ethan. He stops talking. His breathing becomes audible. I hear you, he says quietly. The voices respond. All at once. We are real under the snow. The recorder shakes violently. Ethan begins to panic. They're knocking, he whispers, from underneath the floor. There is a rhythmic thudding sound, slow, hollow, like fists striking frozen earth. 1, 2, 3. Pause. Again. Ethan begs them to stop. They laugh, not loudly, softly, like snow settling. They're cold, a voice says. They want warmth. The thudding grows louder. Cracks form in the cabin floor. Ethan screams. The recording ends abruptly. The sheriff told me it was likely audio distortion, stress-induced hallucinations, hypothermia. That explanation didn't survive long, because 3 months later, another man vanished. Same mountain range, different cabin, same storm conditions, same footprints, same knocking sounds reported over the radio before contact was lost. The locals began whispering about it. They called it the ones below. Old miners had spoken of them for generations, men who died in collapses, travelers buried alive during blizzards, lost settlers swallowed by avalanches. They say the mountains don't forget the dead. They store them, preserve them, and when the snow is deep enough, they speak. I returned to the cabin 1 year later, against everyone's advice. I needed closure. The cabin had been abandoned since Ethan's disappearance. Snow had reclaimed it. The door creaked open reluctantly, as if resisting my entry. Inside, it was colder than it should have been. I stood in the center of the room, right where the footprints had begun. The floor felt soft, hollow. I pressed my ear against the wood. At first, I heard nothing. Then, knocking from below. 3 slow taps, then a whisper. My name. I ran. I didn't look back. That night, as I drove down the mountain, snow began to fall again, heavy, relentless. In my rear-view mirror, I saw shapes forming beneath the snowbanks, faces, watching, waiting, and somewhere deep under the frozen earth, voices whispered together, "Stay with us."
Story 3. I was the only one working the snowy night shift. Inspired by real night shift reports, snowplow logs, and missing persons cases in upstate New York. If you've ever worked the night shift during a snowstorm, you already know the truth most people don't like to admit. The snow doesn't feel empty at night. It feels crowded. In January of 2019, I was 34 years old and working as a contracted snowplow operator for a rural county in upstate New York. It wasn't glamorous work, but it paid well, and winter storms meant overtime. That storm was supposed to be routine, lake effect snow, heavy, steady, predictable. It wasn't. My shift began at 11 p.m. The dispatcher assigned me Route 7B, an isolated stretch of highway cutting through forest and abandoned infrastructure. No homes, no businesses, just old rest stops, overgrown access roads, and a decommissioned medical complex farther north. Locals avoided that route at night. I never asked why. By midnight, snow was falling so thick it swallowed my headlights.
The world beyond my windshield collapsed into a narrow tunnel of white. Radio chatter was light, just static and the occasional check-in. At 1:42 a.m., I saw someone standing on the shoulder of the road, a woman. She was facing away from me, hair plastered to her back by snow. I slowed, flashing my lights. She didn't move. When I stopped beside her, my heart sank. She was barefoot, wearing nothing but a thin hospital gown. Snow clung to her skin, but she wasn't shaking. "Ma'am," I called out, stepping down from the plow, "are you hurt?" She turned. Her eyes were completely black. No whites, no reflection, just darkness. "I missed the bus," she said calmly. My breath caught in my throat. "There's no bus out here," I replied. She tilted her head slowly, smiling. "They never wait for us," she said. Then she stepped off the road and walked into the trees. I shouted after her. She didn't look back. Within seconds, the forest swallowed her. No footprints, nothing. I reported it immediately. Dispatch was quiet for a moment. Then the voice crackled back. "Continue your route," they said. "We'll notify authorities." I didn't like that response, but I kept driving. Around 2:30 a.m., the snow stopped, completely. No wind, no falling flakes. Silence pressed against my ears. My radio crackled, not with static, with breathing, slow, wet, behind me. I turned. The cab was empty. Then I heard it. 3 knocks. From inside the plow, behind my seat. I froze. "Hello?" I whispered. 3 knocks again. Same rhythm, same place. I reached for the radio. It came alive. A woman's voice whispered my name, not through the speaker, right beside my ear. "I'm still cold." The temperature gauge dropped suddenly. Frost crept across the inside of my windshield. I slammed the accelerator. The engine screamed. Snow began falling again, violently, as if released all at once. The knocking stopped. At 3:11 a.m., I reached the old rest stop, abandoned for years. I don't know why I pulled in. Something pulled me. The lot was empty except for tire tracks, fresh ones, leading in, not leading out. I shut off the engine. The silence returned. Then the headlights flickered, and shapes emerged from the snow. People, dozens of them standing just beyond the reach of the light, barefoot, hospital gowns, some missing fingers, some missing faces, all staring, all smiling. 3 of them stepped forward. They knocked on the plow. 1, 2, 3, together. "We were left behind," they whispered. "We're still waiting." I screamed and hit the horn. The sound shattered the silence. The figures dissolved into blowing snow. I didn't stop driving after that. I quit the next morning. Didn't finish the shift, didn't explain. 3 months later, curiosity got the better of me. I started researching Route 7B. What I found made my blood run cold. That decommissioned medical complex had once been a psychiatric hospital. In February of 1986, during a severe snowstorm, a transport bus carrying 16 patients crashed on that road. The driver survived. The patients ran. Search teams found tracks leading into the woods, then nothing. No bodies, no remains. Just reports, knocking sounds, voices on the wind. Night shift workers seeing barefoot figures during snowstorms, always counting to 3. Last winter, I moved out of state. I thought I was done. Then one night during a storm, I heard knocking on my front door. 3 times, slow, deliberate. I didn't answer. The snow outside was untouched, but the cold stayed with me.